And correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume it was easier for somebody like you to get acceptance from the locker room since you probably knew a lot of the guys from Stampede and came up with them and that kind of thing.
When I this is funny. Well, at the time, like when I was in Japan, when I went over there, I had some problems in the States, so it's kind of bizarre to even say this, but I promised my family and my girlfriend I wouldn't get in any trouble over in Japan because I had some fights and stuff over here. So I'm like, okay, well, I get over to Japan, I'm there with Vader and Buzz Sawyer. Well, they were younger back then, and they were just total assholes. So anyway, I sucked it up, didn't do anything, and plus I have a copy of my contract somewhere. It was in my contract that if I screwed up or got in any fights over there, they could send me home with half the amount of pay I was guaranteed.
Oh, wow.
Well, back then, I wanted the money and needed the money. It was the first place I had been. So anyway, I put up with these two, and I just couldn't wait to get back to the States because I just wanted to pummel them.
Yeah.
So we get back to the States. Well, Buzz ran through the security checkpoint and threw his clothes in the garbage so we didn't have to check in or anything like that, and just ran. I never saw him again, but he fell over dead, cutting his grass or something. Well, good riddance, Buzz. But and then Vader, I actually went to Hershey that night. I hadn't seen him in 6 years or 7 years after I was out. I saw him in Japan, then I got over being sick, and I got my health back, was back training, and I actually went to Hershey in like 97, somewhere around there, just because I wanted to go up there. I went up there just to kick the shit out of him. That's the reason I went to Hershey, yep.
Wow.
So I walked in, Bulldog was in there, Owen was in there, well, the whole crew was there. And, Owen's like, what are you doing here? I said, oh, and you were in Japan with me. I said, well, this is the first time I felt healthy, and Vader's in town, so I came up here to beat the shit out of him. And they just looked at me. So I said hi to the guys and stuff, and Vader came down the hall, and I had my hair cut short. I had hair long back then.
Oh, okay.
And long story short, he came up, and I told him why I was there. Well, after he knew I was serious. I mean, it's like I squared off and said I came here for one reason,
Yeah.
And he said, well, I don't know what happened back then. Well, he apologized to me twice.
Yeah.
I might sound like an idiot or a jerk saying this, but I really didn't want him to apologize because he and Buzz made life miserable for me for 6 weeks over there, and I wanted to beat the shit out of him bad.
Yeah.
So he apologized, and I looked like a total idiot at that point if I had started cracking somebody that's just apologized twice in front of 20 men, in the locker room. So I'm like, this is brutal, I said, Owen, and Owen's like, the hell with it. He goes, you apologize, who cares anymore? And then Bulldog's like, why don't you come back in? Well, then Brian Pillman was in there too, and it's funny, everybody I'm naming are all my good friends, and none of them are around anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, they all put in a word, Brett put in a word for me, stuff like that. Well, then I went to another one of the shows in Bethlehem, I think it was, talked with a couple of guys in the office, and then I worked my way in shortly thereafter.
Yeah. Was it the whole thing with Buzz and Vader? Was it that they knew that you had that clause in your contract, so they knew that they could push you without retribution, or?
I don't know. They were just pushing me,
Yeah.
and now I was 22 at the time,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, I've never let anybody. It's like I sucked it up because I had been in some fights here, and my attorney was having a fit. I said, he goes, no matter what you're doing, you got to stop getting in any trouble. And it wasn't trouble I had started. It was just from working at bars, just knocking people out.
Yeah.
But then my girlfriend was having a fit, my mother was having a fit, so they're like, promise us you're not getting in any trouble while you're gone for 6.5 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I promise. Cut me a break here.
Yeah.
Well, after promising, I get over here with the two biggest jerks on the planet. Now, I will say this. Vader's changed. He's gotten older, he's matured. He was a pain in the ass back then. If he's a man, he'll say he was a pain in the ass back then, but he's changed, he's different, and he's like all the other guys, he kind of grew out of it, mature, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Buzz was just a total jerk. Don't know if he ever changed or not because I never saw him again.
Yeah.
Don't care if I ever did. If I did, I would have liked to have cracked him too, but anyway, I don't think they would have known that was in my clause. I think they were just used to ribbing new people, and I can take ribs, I can take jokes as good as the next guy, and I can give them out. But they were pushing things way too far, and it's like when they know you're a new guy, well, they have their positions sewn up over there. Well, for one, you're worried about, am I ever going to be able to come back over here and wrestle again if I do something to these guys? I promised my family I'm not going to. It was just a pain in the butt for 6 weeks for me, and I couldn't wait to get back home just as cold as that sounds, I just wanted to see those guys bad.
Yeah. So it's like it took everything. I would imagine your willpower not to do anything.
It did. And then a couple of other guys were like, "Why don't you?" I'm like, "I didn't want." Back then, it's like I didn't even want to tell people that. Well, it was in my contract, and my promise my family. It's like they're going to be like, "Oh yeah," but that's just the way it was. And anybody that knows me, I don't lie about anything like that. It's just this is the way it was.
Yeah.
So